going on YouTube? This is Sidney Cumbie once again with yet another makeup video. Well, this actually is not makeup. I'm trying to plan a makeup. This was a last minute sort of life cast that I did on Jacquelyn Coon because RBFX, the full face prosthetics don't fit her that well because she has this tiny little head. So I thought, hey, I'll do a full life cast on you and then I'll sculpt a big cowl so that I can fit the faces better so that we can do more makeups on her face. So I decided to do a live cast. I looked around to see what I had a lot of Alginate on me, so this would be my first Alginate live cast video. It's by myself and it's a full live cast. I do not recommend anybody ever doing a full live cast by themselves because not only is it going to take time, but you really got to keep that person underneath the Alginate alive. Luckily I've done so many live casts that I got this thing done pretty quick, and I'm pretty good at doing live casts. You'll notice some differences between doing silicone and doing the Alginate. I actually add some burlap in the Alginate to make sure it clings to the front of the live cast. But you'll see it in the video. The live cast came out good. Actually, I'm looking at it right over here. It's right over there. It came out good. I corrected it and everything. I'm about to start sculpting today the cowl. So hopefully you guys will get to see some pretty cool makeups with short little Jacquelyn Coon. She's fun to do makeup on. And yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you comment below, and here we go. What's going on, guys? Looks like I'm going to be running you through this Alginate live casting video that I did. So here we go. Alright, so now I'm putting on the bald cap. The bald cap is a little bit too big for her, but we're going to make it work. This is just a live cast. I'm not trying to make her bald. So you don't really need an awesome bald cap. Now I'm putting on some Prozade right here, going all the way around her hairline, not too thick. Don't want to go crazy with this thing. Just a nice thin layer will work. You want to make sure also that the Prozade dries completely before you pull the bald cap down. So you want it to be super clear, then pull it down, then push all the way around where you laid the glue. And now right here I'm just going to trim it off her face a little bit, just so that the bald cap is not going to bother. Going all the way around, I'm going to leave the ears covered because I do not need the ears in this live cast. I just need the bust. So I'm just going to leave the ears on there. Leave them up under the cap. So now I'm using some acetone to dissolve away the bald cap. So I have the bald cap glued down completely. So I'm using acetone to dissolve it because this is a vinyl bald cap. Vinyl bald caps dissolve with acetone, and they're pretty much seamless after you do this, which is great. So you'll have to do very little work when sanding down the edge. There we go. Now we also want to grease up her eyebrows and eyelashes. You want to do this so the hair does not get stuck in there, and I'm using Vaseline here, just a thin layer of Vaseline. Doesn't need to be on too thick. I'm also Vaselining the bald cap, so the bald cap also pulls out of this live cast and does not stick to the Alginate. So I Vaseline eyebrows, eyelashes, and the bald cap. Now if you have any other hair anywhere, mustache or anything, make sure you guys Vaseline that as well. So now I am I'm using masking tape to tape down the plastic bag that we have her wrapped in. You want to do this so it just doesn't get everywhere. It doesn't get on her clothes and stuff. And this is my line. I'm sort of marking it where I want the live cast to end. Alright, now I'm mixing up the Alginates. Make sure you're using cold water. If you're using hot water, the Alginate will set up too quick. Now this Alginate will probably set up in 3 to 5 minutes, so you got to work fast. I do not recommend that you do a live cast of this caliber, this size, by yourself, especially if you're an amateur. You have many people around you to help you and remind you about things. For me, I've done many of these live casts, so I sort of know the ins and outs, and I can do one of these by myself and relatively quick. Alright, again, watch out for her nose. This is super big deal. Leave the nose open. You do not use straws or anything. Just leave the nose open. So I have her little nostrils open. So now I just did the second layer right here. This is the second layer of Alginate. I'm doing 2 layers so that nothing's too thin, that it's going to hold up strong. And before you do this, you also want to use Alginate Bonder. After Alginate sets up, Alginate does not want to set up on itself again, so it will not stick to it. So beware. All right, so right here I am putting burlap into the actual front of the life cast. I'm only doing the front of the life cast. The reason I put burlap embedded in the alginate, before the alginate sets up, I put burlap on it, is so that the front shell that I add to this life cast stays on there, and I only pull off the back shell. And plus, it's also going to help the nose keep its form, stay in the mold, and I will not remove it. And this is I'm actually doing the bandages right now just on the back side. So I'm starting out with the back side so that if I do the front side, I don't want her to keep leaning forward and falling forward. I don't want the front to be too heavy for her. So I was like, all right, I'll just start out with the back side of it, make this nice and strong, then do the front. You want to constantly keep asking. They can always hear you in there. Just be like, thumbs up if you're okay, give me a thumbs up, making sure they're okay, making sure they're comfortable. If they're not, get them out of it. We don't want anybody to freak out in one of these things. So just make sure, okay, are you okay? Give me a thumbs up. They can always hear you. So now that I got the back shell done, I'm vaselining the edge of the back shell. So the back shell is completely dry. It's all the way set up, so it's a hard shell. So I Vaseline the edge of it. Now I'm overlapping the back shell with the front shell. I'm not going over too much because you don't want to lock somebody in a mold in one of these life casts, but I'm going over maybe about an inch, maybe about an inch, maybe a little under an inch. Over the back shell, and I'm making it nice and thick. These bandages are 4-ply, so they're folded over 4 times. They're going to be a nice thickness, so most of the time you're only going to need to be able to put one down, and it's going to be a solid piece so that you don't have to keep going over it with multiple pieces. Make sure you smooth it out like I'm doing here. I'm smoothing it completely out so it's completely flat. And as you can see, the burlap is being covered up. So the burlap and the bandages are going to bond together. They're going to just stick together, seep. The bandages are going to seep into the burlap, combine with the burlap, and make it where the bandages and the burlap are now one. So not only is the bandages sticking to the burlap, but the burlap is sticking to the alginate, meaning that the front shell is not going to come off this mold now, and that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to keep that front shell on the mold. All right, now I'm being careful. Again, there's a living human being up under this mold, so you want to make sure that the nose is still clear. So the nostrils that I kept clear from the alginate are going to also be clear with the bandages. And make sure you're wringing out these bandages enough so that none of the water drips into the nose. So right here, I just pulled off the back shell really easily, and now I'm cutting up the back of this life cast with some scissors, being really careful, putting my hand up under there so it doesn't cut the model. And then I'm just popping it right off. There it goes. And when your model comes out of one of these things, they are going to be blinded by the light because they've probably been up under this cast for at least, I don't know, I want to say an hour maybe that it takes to do one of these. So now I have the life cast put back together. I have the back shell and the front shell combined, and I have it duct taped shut, so it's shut completely. And now what I'm doing here was I'm using a little bit of super glue, and I'm super gluing the seam that I made with the scissors that I cut up the back. So I'm super gluing that. Not only am I super gluing the seam, I'm also super gluing the alginate to the bandages so that they stay and nothing flaps over when it gets heavy with stone. So now what I have here is Ultra Cal 30. I'm mixing Ultra Cal 30 up, and I'm eyeballing measurements. I don't have really any measurement off the top of my head. I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm making sure it's almost like a melted milkshake or melted ice cream, maybe a milkshake consistency, not super thick, but thin enough to where you can do your detail layer of this cast. Now I'm trying to make this life cast hollow. I want to make this life cast hollow so that not only is it lightweight, but it's also going to make it easier for to float pieces off of it. So if you sculpt something on this and you out-coated it first, or you wonderfoiled it first, then it's gonna float right off of it once you put it in water. So that's why I'm making this hollow. So here we go. We are doing, that's my first layer that I have in there right now, a nice thin layer. That's my detail layer. I'm not letting it set up. I'm just gonna go in with another layer, making that detailed layer a little bit thicker. Pulling it up on the walls, trying to scoop it out of the head, but you also want to make sure that the chin gets filled, the ears gets filled, if there is ears in this. You know, any kind of detail that is going to catch bubbles or something up under there, you want to make sure that you're getting all that filled. You know, even if you have to slush it around a little bit, rotocast it a little bit, That's just something you got to do. And I keep reaching in there, pull it up. Now this life cast has a really thin neck, so it makes it really hard for me to get my hand up in there and pull the stone up on the wall without brushing it off of the neck. So this is something that you have to think about. I'm going to leave the head almost nearly solid. You know, I'm going to make it as hollow as I can, but it's not as hollow as I would like it. So I'm just going to keep pulling some of that stone out, raising it up on the walls, and making sure we have a nice thickness for the detail layer. And now the next thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go in with a burlap layer, meaning that I'm going to soak burlap in stone so the stone gets up in there, and then I'm going to strengthen this life cast with burlap. So I'm going to do like 2 layers of burlap inside of the neck, the head, and around the shoulders and everything to make sure that the hollow piece has strength to it, because just stone could crack. Now if you have burlap in there, burlap is going to strengthen it up, make sure it's going to be nice and solid. So now I let it set up a little bit, so as you can see the stone is set up just a little bit, and I'm smearing like a peanut butter layer up in there because I'm about to go in with the burlap, and I like to have a base for the burlap to stick to already. So as long as I put like a little peanut buttery layer in there, I can get this burlap, strengthen up that neck. You can see I'm putting the burlap in the neck and in the head, and I'm going to do 2 layers of this burlap all the way around in the neck and in the shoulders. And I'm using a nice thick mixture. I like to use a really thick mixture when I do my burlap. Some people like to use a little bit thinner. It is preference. As long as you get your burlap in there, it will strengthen your mold. And if you guys saw that I put the clamps on there, if you see that red clamp right there, that red clamp is just to hold up the alginate. The alginate was drooping down, folding over a little bit. The super glue didn't really hold it that well, so I just clamped in some places just to make sure that the alginate didn't flop over when adding stone on there. So now I'm just adding all the extra stone that I have in the bucket just around the edges. I want the edges to be really thick, so when I pull this thing out and I set it down, that the bottom part doesn't break off. I am going to make a base for this, so I want there to be a nice solid platform for this thing to sit on, so that I can make this base. All right, I'm just doing a layer. And now something that you want to worry about is as this thing is setting up and you can see all the rough like stone in there, you really want to smooth this out. If you don't smooth it out, what's going to happen is you're going to get these hard edges. Like right here, I just smooth it all out with a little brush. You're going to get these sharp edges, hard edges that are going to cut you once you start either trying to put a beauty coat or trying to pick it up. You're going to get these hard edges and they're going to stab you, so be wary of that. I smoothed it out as best as I could right here, and it looks pretty decent, and it's almost done. So now here is the final life cast. It is not exactly perfect. I haven't corrected the full life cast yet, but as you can see at the bottom of it, I put a base all the way around it, just so that it'll sit flat on the table. It won't rock or anything. It has a nice solid base. It's just going to strengthen it a little bit, but it is still hollow. Now I know I missed a lot of stuff in this video. I made this video really quick just to give you some ins and outs of doing an Alginate Lifecast. Again, I do not recommend that you do a full Lifecast like this by yourself. Make sure you have a team with you. It's only going to help you. I've done this before, so I know what I'm doing. So if you have any questions, I did leave a couple of things out. I'm very sorry, but if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. And subscribe, please, guys. All right, bye.